a workshop by none other than Hyder Taufik. And let me read out his introduction because I don't want to get this wrong. The speaker is a charisma coach, corporate trainer, author, and director of the High Flyer Nation. As a charisma specialist, he coaches and trains high-performing leaders, financial advisors, and business owners to command a high level of influence, respect, and charisma on stage. He is known for teaching salespeople how to use their natural charisma to sell without selling, and as a result, multiply their sales. He is also the District 80 Evaluation Speech Champion for 2024. Please welcome Hyder Taufik.
Life is about making choices. First, we make these choices, and then these choices make us. I'd like to invite all of you here to give yourselves a round of applause for making the choice to be here today. Give yourselves a round of applause. President Valerie, fellow Toastmasters and guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to Toastmasters Club of Singapore, for those of you who are new here. And for those who are here, you are in luck, because tonight we're going to be talking about how to master speech evaluations. And I promise you, you made the right choice for being here today. Especially for those of you who've always wondered, as a Toastmaster, how do you give great speech evaluations? And if you've never participated in an evaluation contest before, and you want to know some secrets on how you can win, I know somebody who may be able to give you some tips or that little edge for you to take it to the next level. Alright, so my name is Hyder, and as our Toastmaster of the day has mentioned, I'm a charisma coach. I train corporate speakers, TEDx speakers. I've also trained business owners on how to be charismatic for sales and leadership. So, just to share a little bit about myself, I'm also the National Public Speaking Champion for Evaluation in 2024. In 2023, I came in second. I was the first runner-up, losing only to your own very, very champion here from Toastmasters Club of Singapore, Ernest Chen. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you, Ernest. He passed the torch to him. Alright, so I learned a lot from him as well. And I've also trained many people across multiple countries, and I've spent 13 years as a trainer. So evaluation is something that I really enjoy. Today's topic for this theme for this entire meeting is joy. Evaluation is something that I really enjoy, but when I started out, I didn't enjoy it. Because evaluation is not easy to do. First and foremost, the speaker that is about to go up here, most of the time, you may or may not know them very well. Most of the time, you don't know them very well. You have to come up with an effective evaluation in only a short time, only a few minutes. For contests, you have no longer than 5 minutes to come up with something coherent, cohesive, most importantly, effective. And how do you know what to give as a feedback? What would be encouraging for the speaker? What would be appropriate? Today we're going to be talking about that, all right? So, what makes a great evaluation? This is a question that I want to ask the Toastmasters in the room. What makes a great evaluation? Shout out to me.
Recommendations.
Recommendations, okay, thank you, Vlad. What else?
Examples.
Examples, very good. What else? Encouragement.
Yeah, positive feedback.
Positive feedback, well done. All right, so these are all standard things, requirements of a good evaluation. But what makes a great evaluation? What do you think?
Clear, actionable feedback.
Actionable feedback, very good. Let's give her a round of applause. Fantastic. All right. What is your name? Anit. All right, fantastic. What else besides actionable feedback?
Show what is expected.
Yes.
Demonstrate.
All right, demonstrate what's expected. Very good. Okay, so when it comes to great evaluations, there are 3 elements. Okay, 3 elements that make up great evaluation. How do you make an evaluation from good to great? Okay? And I can encapsulate these three factors into the three E's. Okay? The first one, of course, it has to be encouraging. Alright? For those of you with notes, please take note, because it can make your evaluation go from good to great. Right? You want to remember these three things. First and foremost, it has to be encouraging. When it comes to evaluating somebody, we give them feedback. Sometimes the feedback that we give, they are not ready to receive or digest. Okay, because maybe it's the manner in which we are delivering the feedback. So first and foremost, especially here in Toastmasters, when we evaluate speakers, it has to be encouraging. All right. Second E, it has to be effective. Okay, it has to be something that is appropriate to that speaker. It cannot be something that's too generic. So for example, oh, you should move around the stage more. Why? Oh, you need to improve your vocal variety. How? Alright, what is it that makes it effective? Specificity, clarity, that makes it effective. Okay, so it has to be effective, not just in general for that speaker, alright, but something that we can all learn together, right? Effectiveness. And finally, enlightening. I would say this is the real X factor to making evaluators go from good to great. Alright? If possible, your evaluation needs to be an aha moment for the speaker. Alright, it needs to trigger an aha moment for the speaker. Something that they've not previously been conscious about before, but you highlighted something, and then from then on, they start paying attention to it, they can immediately apply it for the next speech. Something enlightening. Alright? Does that make sense? Yes? What's the first E?
Encouraging.
Encouraging. What's the second E? Effective. What is the third E? Enlightening. Very nice. I'm going to share with you how you can achieve these three things. How many of you are interested to learn? Yes? Fantastic. I got a good crowd today.
Yes.
Woo. Let's talk about this phrase here. At the end of the day, it's not about you. Great evaluators don't make it about themselves. Have you seen evaluators that when they evaluate, it's almost like a performance, right? And they almost outshine the speakers themselves, which defeats the purpose of a credible evaluation. A great evaluator never tries to outshine their speaker, but they try to make their speaker shine brighter. Okay? Now, for many of you here, maybe you find that, oh, I'm not ready for an evaluation. How many of you are new speakers here? Yes? You find that maybe you're not ready for an evaluation, or worse, you are evaluating somebody like Ernest or Adeline, right? You are evaluating champions. And who am I? What do I have to say to them that will help them improve? Or maybe you're like struggling to find out, right? Here's my tip for you. You don't need to be better than the speaker. You just need to make the speaker better. Alright? You don't have to be better than the speaker. You just need to find a way to make them better. How can you make them better? Again, it's not about you. How can you make them improve? Leaps and bounds. Or if not, 1% improvement. Give them a recommendation. Now when it comes to evaluations, you don't necessarily must give the right answer, because there is no right or wrong in evaluations. Okay, there's no right or wrong thing to tell the speaker. But from your point of view, what you think would be relevant and beneficial for them. Alright, I'll share with you some tips on how you can do that. Now first, 3 most common mistakes made by rookie evaluators. Now if you've not, how many of you have not done an evaluation before? Okay, great. So you won't be making these mistakes. Yes? Alright? Especially evaluators here, later, I'll be evaluating you. Okay, now the pressure is on, right? Alright? So apply these tips, alright? No more making of these mistakes. Now, especially if you intend to participate in contests, you cannot afford to make any of these mistakes. Okay? So this here in Toastmasters is where we practice better speaking, better evaluating. Alright? First mistake, what do you think this is? Yes, Simon.
Overload.
Overload. Okay, very good. All right. Too much information. The first mistake that especially rookie evaluators make is cramming, right? Or what I like to call listing. Listing or cramming the evaluation. How long do you have to give an evaluation? 2 to 3 minutes. If you list down 10 things for the person in 2 to 3 minutes, would that be better or worse?
Worse.
Why worse? Too much. How do you know? 10 things. That's kind of generous, right? That's great, right? 10 things, as opposed to somebody who has only 2 things.
You cannot elaborate 10 things in 2 to 3 minutes.
Exactly. Just because you have more, all right, quantity does not mean quality. So, in a very good evaluation or great evaluation, you notice that the evaluators are not rushing, right? They never have to rush through their points because they don't have too many points. So the first mistake is called listing, right? Listing simply means, all right, so you had good eye contact, that was great, and your hand gestures, that was also wonderful, and then your vocal variety, sometimes up, sometimes down, that was great, and then your speech organization, good, and then your story was also wonderful. So like, okay, everything is great then, but there's no what? Elaboration, there's no depth. Alright, so great evaluations focus on depth, not breadth. Make sense? Okay, so how do you overcome this then? My recommendation for you, okay, or rather something that I always do, pro tip, 2 good points and 2 areas of improvement. That's it. Focus on the 2-2 ratio. Generally, when we do evaluations here in Toastmasters, we want to have more commendations than recommendations, more good points than more areas of improvement. Why? So that it becomes more encouraging, right? But that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes we just have more good points because we can see all the good points, and it's hard for us to find out what is something that we can deliver as a recommendation. Okay, so 3 to 2 is fine. 2 to 2 is even better because you have more space or you have more time to elaborate on your points. All right, if you want to practice even deeper, 1 to 1. All right, so 2 points maximum. Focus on 2 good points and 2 points for improvement for that speaker. Great. Okay, so that's the first, overcoming the first mistake. Let's take a look at the second one. What is this? All about who? You. Okay. Point I'm trying to make the way I explain it. What is this?
All
Keep it simple.
All over, not clear,
not simple.
not simple, means
Not
what?
straight to the point.
Complicated, complex, not straight to the point. Okay, so when it's not straight to the point, what does the person need?
So what do you expect me to do?
Okay, what do I expect you to do? Alright, so mistake number 2, no structure, no clear structure. Okay, so for example, say your story was great, you had great vocal variety, but there were some points where you were a bit too loud, so make sure that you don't emphasize too much on those points. But most of the time, you had really good intonation, and I could articulate your words clearly. Maybe except for the way you sound articulate, but I think that was fine as well. So back to your good points, blah blah blah, blah, and then a little bit of this and a little bit of that, right? So it's all over the place. So a great evaluation is never a train of thought speech. Okay, you don't simply follow what is in your mind, but you want to structure your evaluation in a way that makes sense. So a simple way to do it, okay, is to focus on this structure. For each point, state what, how, and why. What, how, and why. How many of you have heard of Simon Sinek? Yes? What's he famous for? Start with why, right? He had this thing called the golden circle, right? Where it's like what, how, and why, right? In this case, What, how, and why. For him, the why is the most important. For an evaluation, everything is important. Okay, but there's a reason why the order is like that. Okay, what, how, and why. I'll give you an example. So how do you give a solid commendation? Let's say you find the speaker did something really well. You want to highlight the strength that they had. So, what did the speaker do well? Start with what? And then, how did they do it? Give examples. How did they do it? Demonstrate that. Rephrase it for the audience. Okay? And why was it effective that they do that? Okay? What, how, and why. So I'll give you an example. Okay? What did the speaker do well? So your speech was well structured and organized. You used a simple framework, ABC, to highlight the 3 factors we can use to be a better speaker: appearance, body language, and clarity. That was a great acronym that you used, ABC. Why was it effective? This makes it easy for the audience to remember your points and, most importantly, apply it to their own journey. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, that is 1 point. Okay, 1 point. So what's my first recommendation for you? How many good points and how many areas to improve? 2, right? So what, how, and why is 1. And then you just need to do it again. What, how, and what. Then you have 2. Then you focus on the recommendations. So it's a very structured, easy way to evaluate someone. Alright, so you just focus on what, how, and why. 3 sentences is enough, right? You don't have to go too deep into 1 point. Now what about recommendations? How to give a helpful recommendations? Same thing. First is, you want to highlight what can the speaker do better. What do you think the speaker can do better? Show how it can be done, alright? Demonstrate it to them. Show it to the audience and also to the speaker. How can it be done? And finally, why is this important? Why is it important for the speaker to remember this? So let's give you an example, right? What can the speaker do better? Now, one recommendation I have for you is to include a personal story. Okay, great. Now, what's next? How? Right? You want to show them how they can do so. Now, in this case, you don't have to come up with a story on the spot for the person, but you can tell them, share with us, how did you personally transform as a leader? Give us a personal anecdote. Who were you before and after your leadership journey? What have you learned? Alright, so give them points that they can use for their story. You don't have to come up with the whole story, if let's say that was your recommendation. Right? And finally, why is it important? Now, by sharing your story, you become more credible as a speaker because you don't just tell us, you show us that leadership is important. Alright? I always feel like a celebrity during my workshops. Why?
We take photos.
Yes. I like to think that you guys are taking photos of me. Right? So, I know my slides are beautiful. Alright? So, by sharing the story, right, you show it through your own real life experience. So, again, what, how, and why. This is 1 point. Okay? So, you only need 2 good points and 2 recommendations. Try it out. Okay? What, how, why, what, how, why, what, how, why, what, how, why. That's it. Okay? Now, that is overcoming mistake number 2. This is mistake number 3. What is this?
Bad conclusion.
Conclusion.
Bad conclusion. What is a bad conclusion?
Racing through your conclusion.
Racing. Wow. Okay. I don't always leave abruptly, but when I.
You don't round up.
Okay.
No summary.
All right. No summary. Absolutely. All right. Ending abruptly. Ending abruptly. Okay. So that was the good points, and that was the not so good points, and you can improve. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day. Alright. Did I say something funny? Nothing, right? But what did you laugh? ending abruptly. Okay, now take note that especially for the contestants of evaluation contests, out of 100 points, 15 points is dedicated to summary, all right, or rather summation on the judging rubrics. So if you have no summary, you are throwing away 15 points. Okay, but other than participating in contests, why is it important for us to summarize for the speaker? Why? Short memory.
No, anchoring the points.
Yes, all right, exactly. Because while you may give all the different points in your evaluation, your speaker may not remember, much less apply everything. So you want to give them a quick summary at the end of your evaluation so that you say, oh, okay, I remember this, I can go home immediately, work on my next speech. All right, so summary, absolutely critical, especially when you're giving a great evaluation. Okay, so that is pro tip. What is pro tip number 3 then? Summarize. All right, summarize at the end. All right, don't forget your summary. Okay, so never end abruptly. Good? All right. So what was the first mistake? See what I did there?
Too much info.
information.
Yes, listing or cramming, right? Too much information. So don't list and don't cram your evaluation. If not, you might have to rush. Okay? So keep it to how many points? 2. Fantastic. What's the next mistake?
No
Keep it simple.
structure.
Spoiler alert, right? No clear structure. And what do you do to overcome that?
What, how, why.
Yes, that's right. For each point, just state what, how, and why. You'll notice that just by following these very simple rules, your evaluation is going to have so much juice, so much meat. Fantastic. The speaker will leave delighted and satisfied. Right? Okay, and what's the last one? What's the final mistake?
Summarize.
Not summarizing, right, by ending abruptly, and you want to summarize at the end. Okay? Okay, this is why you must have summary slides, because that's the time where everybody will take out their phones, take photo of you. Alright, is this useful? Yes? Alright, so whether you are new to Toastmaster, you've never given an evaluation before, or you are an experienced evaluator, apply these tips. Alright, you will notice a difference in your ability to evaluate. Okay? So, some quick do's and don'ts as evaluators. What do you do? What don't you do? First is, don't say that was not good. Alright, especially here in Toastmasters. When you're giving an evaluation, you want to leave out as much negativity as possible. Focus on the way you phrase your words. You don't say, that when you spoke like that, that wasn't very good. Okay, what would that make the speaker feel?
Down.
Right, a little bit deflated, right? Okay, so what can you say? It would be more effective if you write this. Now take note, this is not just for evaluation, this is a life skill, by the way. It saved me a lot of arguments in my relationship. Okay, now she's like, yes, tell me what would it be more effective for me. I'm like, okay. So it works to some extent, alright? After 5 years in the relationship, it no longer works. But it works for evaluations. Okay? So it would be more effective if you try something else. Next, you should have done this. Alright, taking the moral high ground right there. You should have done this. Okay, in evaluation, especially in giving speeches, there's no right or wrong answer. So there's no should at the same time. Bless you. Okay? So don't say you should have done this. What do you say?
You can try doing.
You can try doing this, right? Okay, you can say, yes, instead of this, try that. Okay, instead of moving around the stage too much, try focusing on one spot, rooting yourself there, because that's where your charisma is going to come out. Okay, so instead of doing this, which you did, try this. So I'm not judging what you did, I'm just proposing an alternative. Alright, see what I'm doing there? Okay, there's no judgment here. Next, Don't admonish the speaker. Don't pace around too much. You are too distracting. Okay, nobody likes to be told what to do. Alright, so don't admonish your speaker. What can you do instead? Right? Say what you prefer. What do you prefer? No, I would love it if you stay grounded in one position so that we can focus on you. I would love it if you had a story so that we can get to know you better instead of just telling us the facts. I would love it, I would prefer it, I would like it. There's so many different words you can use. Okay, so what would you prefer? And finally, don't give vague advice. You need to move around more. Have you heard that before? Right? Some speakers have heard this before. Right? Okay, you need to move around the stage more. Not useful. How? Okay, should I move around like this? Would it make the workshop better?
Yes.
You would prefer that, right? Okay. Now give specific recommendations for the speaker. Give specific. Okay, try moving to the left, to the center, and the right to anchor different positions in your blah blah blah, right? So give specific recommendations. It will be much more helpful, useful, and applicable for your speaker. Make sense, right? Do's and don'ts. We good? Now, we're moving on to the final stretch. Before, I'm going to give all of you a little bit of an exercise, okay? So, final stretch. How to improve your evaluation skills. Now, Vlad has gently requested that I share with you some tips on how you can improve your evaluation skills so that you can one day beat me at evaluation contest. I guess I would gladly do it, all right? Or gladly do it. So how do you improve your evaluation skills? I'll give you 3 tips, all right? These are tips that I've done myself, all right? So I've done myself to improve, to get to the championship level at the national stage. So how do I do that? First, what you want to do is you want to evaluate everyone. While you are here in Toastmasters, nobody says you only evaluate when you have a project evaluator role. So every time you're at a Toastmaster meeting, evaluate everyone, even if you're not the project evaluator. So how do you do that? You have notes, you can write down. What do you think speaker 1 did well? Find 2 points. What do you think they can improve? Find 2 points. Then speaker number 2, what do you think they can do well? What do you think they can improve? How do you think they can improve? Right? Write it in your notes. That will train your analytical muscles. You need to have strong analytical muscles to be able to evaluate within a short period of time, at a time crunch. Especially in evaluation contests, because analytical quality is the heaviest portion of the judging rubrics. It's 40 points out of 100. Okay, so you want to train your analytical muscles by regularly working them out. Okay, so don't just sit passively. Make full use of your Toastmasters meeting by evaluating everyone. That was what I did. Okay, even if I'm not the evaluator, maybe I'm the timer or the Toastmaster of the day, I would be writing notes on all the speakers. Okay, so that is one thing you do. Tip number 2. Tip number 2 is record down what other evaluators have said. Now, what does that do? Okay, it gives you more tools. It gives you more things to say or more things to latch onto when you're giving your evaluation. Alright, so when you notice a great evaluator on stage, what did they say for their speaker? Write it down. Okay, so that's what I like to do. I like to look at all the champion evaluators and I always write down, oh, this speaker said this. Maybe I could use that. Alright, so that is what I call collecting tools in your toolbox. Good? Finally, this is the magic one. This is what makes evaluators turn from good to great. There's a magic question that you want to ask yourself for every speaker. Okay, for every speaker. Tip number 3. Here's the magic question. Oops, what is this? life doesn't want you to give you the magic question. Okay? Ask yourself, what can the speaker do to make me more convinced? Okay, this is you asking yourself when you are evaluating somebody. What can the speaker do to make you more convinced? If let's say the speaker was giving you a lot of hard data, facts, what can they do to make you more convinced about their topic? Can they share with you a story? Can they give some personal examples or relatable examples? Can they give something that is actionable, tangible for you to go home with and apply in your own life? All right, let's say the speaker gave a speech on mindfulness. So if they talk about how mindfulness was great, how it changed their lives, what's missing then? What's missing is, I would like to change my life too. I want some tips. Could they have included some tips in their speech? Could they have shared on how mindfulness has helped other people as well, not just themselves, right? So these are all the different options that you have when you're doing an evaluation. Ask yourself, what can the speaker do to make you more convinced? All right, and that's where you will start to notice that, hey, they can try this, they can try that. If they did this, I would really like that. I would be very convinced. Okay, then that becomes your evaluation. Good? Great?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, now, time to practice. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, now before I share with you what the practice is going to be about, I'll even give you my evaluation template.
Wow.
Okay? I'm so confident that I'll give you exactly what I do during evaluations so that one day you will beat me. Okay? So I challenge myself, alright? So this is my evaluation template. When you're giving an evaluation, most of the time, especially contests, you're given one piece of paper, like this, sometimes two. So you want to make sure that you're using that space and your notes really well. And you are organizing your notes so that you will know what to say when you're giving your evaluation. So this is what you could do. All right? What you could do, especially if you have a piece of paper right now, is you could even draw out the template. And you can use it for your evaluation later, for those evaluators who are doing your PE later. Split the paper into half, right? This is what I like to do. I will draw a line in the middle. I'll write the speaker's name on top as well as their title, which is usually given to you before the speech. On the right side, that is where I will write down my points. How many points? 2, 2. All right, so usually I write down 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'll give myself space, adequate space for each point, and then I'll write my examples on the left side. So it looks something like this. Okay. So if let's say I'm writing that, oh, the speaker organized their speech really well. All right. Let's say they organized their speech really well. I'll write that under number 1, and then under examples, I'll write down exactly what they did to organize the speech. I'll write down, oh, they had a really good acronym. Oh, they focused each point in equal length. Or it was very easy to follow their points, right? So all these things you can write under examples. Okay, and then summary, where does it go? You can just replicate your 4 points right there. I like to write it in the corner. If you don't have time to write down your summary or replicate it in the corner, that's fine as well, because you already have your main points. So you can say, in summary, you did this well, then number 2, then number 3, and number 4, and I look forward to seeing you take off and deliver a greater speech in the near future. Back to you, Toastmaster, today. Okay, make sense? Yes, useful? Can use? Because you need to use right now. All right, so to practice this, okay, we're gonna all do a evaluation together. All right, we're all gonna do an evaluation together, or at least you're gonna practice evaluating a certain speaker. Okay, yes?
Do you take questions now?
I can take questions now. Do you have questions?
Yes, I
Yes.
do.
All right, feel free.
Yeah, so back to the previous slide, right?
Which one?
The one where you show your evaluation tablet.
This one.
Do you write the points as they speak, or somehow, after listening, and then you kind of pick the two best and the two
Mm.
areas of improvement, because sometimes there's really a lot of points and you want to make sure you get the best one.
Exactly. All right. Now, for each speaker that I evaluate, sometimes it's different. Okay. But what I like to do, what I like to do generally when the speaker is speaking, sometimes they give a quote that is really wonderful, and you don't want to forget that. All right. So let's say the speaker said, "Life is about making choices. First, we make these choices, and then these choices make us." Then you're like, "Oh." All right, and immediately upon hearing that, write that down under examples. Okay, and then what is the corresponding point? They had a great opening. All right, so you can write that later. So examples, generally I would be, while I'm listening to the speaker, I would be writing down all the things that they do well under the examples column, and then I will organize them later on the left side. Okay, so some of you, maybe you prefer examples on this side, maybe your evaluation on this side, maybe it makes more sense to you. For me, I like to do it this way, because when I read out my evaluation, or rather when I deliver my evaluation, I would say the first point, right, the what, and then I would look at the corresponding example column and I'd say how they did well. Okay, and then I'll say why that was so good that they did that. Okay, so sometimes what I like to do is, because I like to evaluate language, which is why most of the language, the golden nuggets that I found in the speaker's speech, I would write it under examples column. I can choose, I would just list them down and I'll say it during my evaluation. Okay, is that useful?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Are you participating in the evaluation contest?
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, yes. I really enjoy evaluations. I can't resist. Okay, so I've already won at the club contest. See you guys at district. Alright, one of you. Anybody plan to go to district? Anyone?
A few of us.
Okay.
I got a table to visit.
Alright. Meet me in the back room. Okay, later after the meeting. Okay? Blindfold your eyes. Just kidding. Any other questions?
A similar one.
Yes.
Maybe a non-existent scenario, but still, let's say.
It may exist after this.
Okay. Maybe the first half of the speech, let's say the speaker is not using the stage well, and we wrote it well. In the next half, the speaker started using it well. Then how we are now?
Alright, delete. Yes. Alright, so if let's say I find that the speaker is moving around too much, for example, this is a common example. Let's say the speaker is moving around too much, or maybe they're not making eye contact with the audience, they keep looking down. Alright, for the rest of the speech, they keep looking down. Okay, and you already noticed this. So under recommendations, number 3, you write that down first. Alright, your eye contact, you were looking down most of the time. So under number 3, what would you prefer them do? Make eye contact. Okay, but before you say that, after you say that, you must also say how. Okay, so a clear example is, let's say, I would prefer if you had better eye contact with members of the audience. So if this is particularly difficult for you, you could start with the left side, look at all the people on the left side, and then focus on the middle, and then focus on the right side. So just focus on 3 points. You don't have to look at every person in the audience. Okay, as a start. So that is a recommendation you can have for eye contact. Sounds good? Right, makes sense? Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions? Yes?
Have you ever had a speech
Hmm.
that you were evaluating where it was really hard to find recommendations because it was so good, and what do you do then?
Yes, all the time. All the time. In fact, there are sometimes if you get, here's the thing, if you're a big fan of speeches, you tend to get absorbed in people's speeches, then you realize that, oops, I'm supposed to be evaluating. Now that's the worst. Okay? So, if let's say you can't find something good, now here's the thing, as an evaluator, you still need to find something good. You still need to find at least something. So again, go back to the question. This speaker did really well. What can they do to make me even more convinced, even more hyped up? And usually, your subconscious mind will give you something. It's like, you know, if they contextualize it to my situation more, maybe that might work. Or maybe if they can just focus on their facial expressions and make me feel the emotion, not tell me that they're sad and all that, maybe that might work. Okay, now here's the thing, you don't know if it will work, but in your heart of hearts, you know that that is what you would prefer. So just focus on what you would prefer. Okay, you don't necessarily must give, oh, that is a spot on recommendation, because there's no way to tell. All right, you just have to do your best. Now here's the thing, if you've seen more speeches, if you've done more evaluations, you're going to have more tools in your toolkit for you to find what is good for the speaker. All right, so always be evaluating. ABE, not ABC. Right? Always be closing. That's my profession. Right? But yes.
What do you think when people use acronyms to evaluate, and do you personally like using acronyms in your evaluation?
In my evaluation?
Yes.
Okay, so there are certain speakers who do use that. I'm ambivalent on it. All right, you don't have to do it. So I know a speaker. She is very. Her favorite is to use her favorite acronym, and she uses it for everyone. Right? Her acronym is ART, A-R-T. Okay, so A is like what was astounding, and then R is the recommendation. Okay, then T, I totally forgot what is that, even though that also starts with T. Okay, so that is her own acronym. It may or may not work, but here's the thing. My personal take on it, don't be confined by your own acronym. Because many of us, let's say we choose a word, let's say STAR, S-T-A-R, S-T-A-R, and then the S stands for strengths. T is, I don't know what's T, to improve. That's it. Or terminology, right? Then you're like, okay, what's terminology? Then you find yourself being confined to your own acronym. My recommendation, you can use it for a start to try it out. The best is if the acronym is related to the speaker's speech. So if let's say the speaker speaks about cats, so I'm going to evaluate you based on the acronym MEOW, M-E-O-W. Well, that's great. All right, if you can find the right word for M-E-O-W. Okay, so M, what was masterful? Okay, right, but it's kind of cliche. Okay, all right. Thank you for your question. Anyone else? Great questions, by the way. Anyone else? All right. Is our test speaker here? Yeah. Yes. Oh, there you are. Okay. So we will have a test speaker for all of us to evaluate together. Right? Sounds fun, right? Okay. We will have a test speaker, and she will be giving. How long is your speech?
5 to 6 minutes.
Okay, 5 to 6 minutes. All right. Timer, you don't have to time her. Okay, she will not be confined by timing. But after she's done, we will discuss what did she do well, how she can improve. All right? Yes.
Shall we take a few moments to distribute paper and pen?
Oh, that would be fantastic. Anybody needs a piece of paper? All right, great. So we'll have papers here. Yes. I also have mine. Now, if you want to be a masterful evaluator, everywhere you go, bring a clipboard and bring a piece of paper and a pen. Yes, Valerie.
During contests, you can bring the paper and all that. Without marks, you can on paper or something like that.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Because some people do without paper.
Yes.
Does it affect?
Okay. That's a great question. Okay, so I know all of you are busy. Valerie has a question. She says, is it better if, let's say, you are looking at your notes, or if you do without your notes? Because there are some evaluators who no notes, and then they can just give their evaluation. It looks masterful, right? Okay, now that depends. When I got second place in the district because I lost to Ernest, all right, when I got second place, someone, after the contest, somebody told me, and she bless her soul, she's a very experienced Toastmaster. She said, you know, Hyder, if you just put your notes aside and just give your evaluation, I think you would have taken it. Then I'm like, okay. The next year, when I participated, I came in first place. I was the champion. And I was still using my notes. Yes, so it doesn't really matter. Okay? Alright, answer your question, Helen? Yes. Everybody ready?
Ready.
Test speaker, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Alright, so let's give a warm round of applause to Nadine.
Thank you. So, good evening, Madam President, Mr. President, esteemed guests, and Toastmaster members. I'm very honored to be the guinea pig for your evaluation today. So, here I am, 21-year-old, freshly married, tradition required. My parents want me to get married, and this is what I did. But deep inside me, I was terrified. I felt so naive and vulnerable. I'm scared. I don't know what this new chapter of my life is waiting for me. The next day after my wedding, I flew to France, leaving behind my country, my friends, and my family. 2 years later, I am in a hospital, ready to welcome my newborn. I'm only 23-year-old. I'm not ready to parent a kid at 23 years. I looked at the eyes of my doctor and I said, "Whose babies is that?" And she giggled and she said, "This lovely baby girl is you." But I'm not ready. I want to continue my study. I looked at this baby in the eyes and I saw my eyes in her. Even though I adored her, but I decided to do my master. So I started looking for a childcare who took my child from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I missed her, she missed me, but I have to continue my study. My husband that night came to the room with a nonchalant attitude. He dropped a bomb and told me, "Nadine, I have an assignment to go to London for 1 year." What? My head went very wild. I want to finish my study. Who will take care of my baby? I was in a very difficult dilemma. Have you ever had before this kind of dilemma in your life? Well, this was my case. But I decided not to give up, and I stayed in France. I took the phone, I called my mom, "Come help me." My mom was delighted. She was in joy, and the next day she took her luggage and came in front of my door and she said, "Yes, 1 year to spend with my daughter and my granddaughter." The year went well, but I received another call from my husband. And he said, "Nadine, I have another assignment, but this time it's longer, and we need to go to Dubai. Please come with me." I'm ready. I have my master in my pocket. I grabbed this little hand and my luggage, and I went to Dubai, and voila! I found a very pleasant lifestyle. It's like I found a treasure set of happiness, a helper. I felt like I'm a princess, not just a princess, a queen. The helper did everything for me. And I had 2 other kids in a time lapse of 2 years. Very good. But one day, my husband came to the room, and this time with heavy steps, long face, and said, "Nadine, I have a bad news. I lost my job." I didn't want to react at that time. I knew exactly what's going to happen. I packed the bags. I knew I have to move again, and I tell the 3 kids, "Come, we are going." And this time to Singapore. Eventually, he found a job in Singapore, but I never expected what was waiting for me. I woke up in the morning, he's gone. My husband was gone. He decided to start his life again somewhere else, leaving me and my 3 kids behind. My kids look at me. In the eyes, I said, Mom, why did Dad left us? Is there something wrong with you? Are we not good enough? Well, they are very young. I couldn't explain to them. So I grab a pen and a paper and I start drawing. Do you see this broccoli? Well, this is your dad. Do you see this rainbow? Well, this is your mom. And sometimes, in order to do a good salad, we need the right ingredient. And this time, we don't have them. There were 3-year-old, 4 and 9 at that time. I think they grabbed what I said. They didn't ask me any question after that. So I was good. And you know, single life in Singapore has lot of surprises. I felt different. Something switched. I felt somehow free after so many years of putting myself behind. I went dancing, I went meeting people, and one day, during a night party, we were in a dance club, I saw him waiting, standing at the bar, looking at me, with his deep blue James Bond's eyes, and our eyes locked. He came to me and invited me for dancing, and I love dancing. And we start dancing. The next day, he called me again for another dance. And the week after, for another dance. And just like that, 3 months later, he proposed to me. He embraced my 3 kids like his own. And soon after, kid number 4 was on the way. Then my 3 kids look at me again and say, Mom, why? Why do you need this 4 kids? Are we not good enough? Is it not 3 kids good enough? Now we need to share you with the 4 kids. This time, I knew that drawing vegetable would not cut it. So I went to my room, and I took a pen and a paper, and I started writing a letter. It says, My beloved kids, I know you went through a lot the past few years. Please forgive me for not being the best mom or giving you what you need every time. But I promise I will be the best version of myself to give you love, support, and care. But before I finish my letter, I have been interrupted. Mom, we're hungry. Mom, come. So I have to go to the kitchen and prepare the lunch and leave the letter. But when I came back to the room again, and I took my paper, I saw another handwriting on the bottom. It was the handwriting of my eldest daughter, who read my message. And she wrote, Mom, don't be too hard on yourself. You've always been here for us during all this year. You are the glue that brings us all together. We love you. And from that day, I knew that my mission is to support women, mothers-to-be, mothers figures, to become the better version of themselves, because you are the glue that brings families together, communities. So please, don't give up. Thank you.
All right, let's give Nadine a round of applause. Well done. All right. So, timer, can I just check how long do we have for this segment? For the rest of the segment?
Now it's at 52 minutes.
Okay, so 8 more minutes. All right. So I'll give all of you probably 3 minutes. All right, let's take 3 minutes. Just write down first thoughts, first impressions about Nadine's speech. What do you think she did well? Right? Choose two. How do you feel she can improve? Choose two. All right. Then what we'll do after this, we'll go around the room and then we'll share. Okay.